The main question I address in my research on character is the question of what is moral character, and in particular, what character traits, or what traits should we conceptualize as character traits? Psychologists have studied a number of different aspects of personality, a number of different individual differences, but we don't yet know which are most important. Where should we focus our attention? So what I'm trying to explore is the relative importance of different traits for predicting ethical and unethical behavior. The answers we've discovered at this point suggest that there may be three broad aspects of personality that are relevant to moral character. The first is consideration of others. So traits like empathic concern, perspective taking, guilt proneness, anticipating that you would feel guilty if you harmed another person, these all seem to tap into consideration of others and maybe a lack of selfishness and being oriented towards other people. And that seems to be a critical component of moral character. A second dimension might be self-control and conscientiousness and being able to consider the future consequences of your behavior as opposed to the short-term gain. And this seems to be another key aspect of moral character that seems different from just a consideration of others. Self-control might involve some kind of skill or ability to regulate your own behavior. And the third aspect of personality that might be relevant is the importance of moral identity. So the desire to be a person and be seen as a person who is fair, honest, kind. Some people value having that identity and being seen themselves as that kind of person more than others. And that could be they value having self-control or they value having consideration of others, or both. But it does seem to represent something a little bit different than the first two aspects. We drew those conclusions from a large study in which we asked over 1,000 people across the United States to respond to a battery of measures, 22 different variables that were relevant to moral character. We also had their coworkers answer questions about them. And we looked at what distinguishes the people who are high in moral character from those maybe low in moral character, and how those variables differentiate the people that are likely to be unethical at work, who are likely to lie, cheat, and steal, versus those who are likely to be helpful to their colleagues, stay late to help coworkers. And we were able, on the basis of the personality battery, to figure out which variables relate to unethical work behaviors, which variables don't, and the extent to which these constructs, like consideration of others and self-control, can help us differentiate who's likely to behave better versus worse in the workplace. The next research question that I'd like to address in my work on character is the question of how we come to see moral character in others. Are there interview techniques, for example, that we might use to figure out if a person is high moral character or low moral character? If a person was on a job interview, are there questions we might ask, like, tell me about a time you made a mistake at work, or a time you resisted temptation? Could we ask those sorts of questions to figure out if a person is likely to behave ethically or unethically at their job? Are there questions you might ask on a first date that might help you know whether your partner is going to be ethical or unethical in their relationship? At this point, we know from different self-report questionnaires where people can answer questions about themselves in anonymous settings that those responses can predict behavior, but we don't know much about how we might figure out this information in a setting where people are motivated to be seen in desirable light, when they might be asked questions that they would be motivated to lie because they wouldn't want their character to be revealed. I think it's important in general to study character because it's relevant to all aspects of our lives, and most particularly to our social relationships. Moral character, as I see it, is related to people's moral behavior. And in social relationships, when we can be vulnerable to others or when we can take advantage of others, it's critical for us to know who in the world, who we interact with, is likely to act selfishly when the opportunity arises, who's likely to help us when we're in need of help, It's important in the workplace if we're looking to hire or promote individuals to positions of power where they have control over others' outcomes. Do they consider those other people, or do they consider just themselves? In our relationships, when we're going to be spending much of our lives with someone, if we're going to be raising children with someone, are they the kind of person we should put our trust in, and that who would act in the ways we would want them to when the opportunity arises?